Back to the quadratic function, h of x equals x squared minus 11x minus 60 using grouping. Okay, so first thing, we need to check and see if there's a common factor in all of our terms. And there isn't one since no number goes into 11 and 60, and there's no variable as well in common with all the terms. And so now we can factor using grouping. And so the first thing we need to do is find a number that multiplies to the first coefficient a times the last coefficient c. And in this case, a is 1 and c is 60. And so we need to multiply those two together. C is negative 60. And so 1 times negative 60 is just negative 60. And so that's going to be, we need to find two numbers that multiply to that, and then at the same time that add to the middle term, which in our case is negative 11. And so now we can just think, well, what multiplies to 60? So I'm just going to list off a few that I think of. So 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 6 and 10, 60 and 1. So looking at these, then one of these would have to be negative to multiply to negative 60. And then we need to think, well, if one is negative, which one has the possibility to add to negative 11? And so 30 and 2, well, it doesn't matter which one is negative there. That's definitely not going to add to negative 11. 3 and 20, again, no way to add to negative 11. 4 and 15, okay, well, 15 minus 4 is 11. So if 15, let's see, so it's negative 11. So if 15 was negative, that's negative 15 plus positive 4, then that would equal 11. And that also multiplies to negative 60. So there's our term. And so now we can break up the middle term. And so we have x squared, and then it doesn't matter what order you put in the negative 15 and 4. So I'll just put the 4x first, and then minus 15x minus 60. And now we need to group the first two and the second two terms, and then we can factor out the greatest common factor. So in the first two terms, they both have an x in common. And so we can factor that out, and then we'll just have an x left, since x times x is x squared, and then we'll have plus 4, since x times 4 gives us 4x. And then here, we see that they both have a 15 that can be multiplied to each. And they also are both negative, and so we can factor out a negative 15, and then inside we'd have x, and then here we'd have positive 4, since negative 15 times 4 is negative 60. And so here it's important that you have the same factor here, because the way that the grouping works, you need to factor it so that we have the same factor, because we're going to end up taking out this x plus 4. And if it's not the same, you need to look back and see what you did wrong. But we have the same factor, so we're good to keep going. Since it's the same in both terms, we can factor it out in the front. And so we can factor out the x plus 4. And then left, we have the x, which is multiplied by the first term. And then we have a negative 15 multiplied by it. And so then now we have a nice factored form, x plus 4 times x minus 15, and that will be our answer. Our final answer is h of x equals x plus 4 times x minus 15.